All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving deep into the world of AI, and specifically a new model called DeepSeek R1. Now, this deep dive is going to get pretty intense, so if you've ever wondered, can a computer really think? Well, this one's for you.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating paper. And DeepSeek R1 is really pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible, in terms of AI reasoning.
Absolutely, and one of the things that really caught my eye was this idea that the model might be experiencing something like an aha moment during its learning process. But I think before we jump ahead, let's back up a bit. What exactly is DeepSeek R1 and why is it making such a splash?
So DeepSeek R1 is a new generation reasoning model developed by DeepSeek AI. And it's actually built on an earlier version, DeepSeek R10, which was trained purely through reinforcement learning. So that means no hand-holding, no pre-labeled data, just learning by doing, interacting with its environment and getting feedback.
So it's kind of like throwing a kid into a pool and seeing if they can figure out how to swim, except in this case, the pool is like a massive data set of really complex problems.
Exactly, and the results were pretty impressive. DeepSeek R10 showed some remarkable reasoning abilities across a whole bunch of benchmark tests. Like, for example, the AM 2024 for mathematics, the Math 500 for advanced math problem solving, and even Code Forces for competitive programming.
Wow, that is some serious brain power. But you mentioned earlier that DeepSeek R1 is built upon this earlier model. What were some of the limitations of DeepSeek R10 that led to this new version?
Well, the initial DeepSeek R10, as incredible as it was, had a couple quirks, kind of struggled with readability, and would sometimes mix languages in its output, so it made it pretty difficult to really interpret its reasoning process. Imagine trying to decipher a solution that's half English, half code. Not very user-friendly, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like having a brilliant scientist who just can't explain their theories
Hmm.
in a way that anyone else can understand. So how did DeepSeek AI address these issues in DeepSeek R1?
Well, they took a multi-stage approach to kind of refine the model's training. So first, they use a small amount of data to really improve the model's readability, sort of like a cold start, to help smooth out its communication. Then they went into reasoning-oriented reinforcement learning, specifically focusing on improving its performance in areas like math, coding, and logical reasoning.
So they basically gave it a crash course in how to
Mhm.
communicate effectively and then sent it off to like specialized training camps to build up different skills.
Precisely. And then to kind of further polish its outputs, they used something called rejection sampling, where the model learns to filter out less coherent or relevant responses. So it's kind of like having an internal editor that reviews this work before presenting it.
Oh, that's really interesting. So they're basically training the model not only to generate solutions, but to evaluate and refine its own work.
Yeah, and to make sure it's not just a super smart, but potentially unpredictable AI. The final stage of training focused on aligning DeepSeek R1 with human preferences for things like helpfulness and harmlessness.
Right, because you want an AI that can reason, but you want it to reason in a way that's beneficial, in line with human values for sure.
Hmm.
But let's go back to that aha moment you mentioned earlier. Is this model really having some kind of epiphany? I mean, what did the researchers actually observe?
So during the training of DeepSeek R10, and remember, it was learning purely through reinforcement learning at this point, the researchers noticed a fascinating phenomenon.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before you go on, I have to ask, how do you even observe an aha moment in a computer program? It's not like it's going to slap its forehead and go, Eureka!
Right, no, of course not. It's a bit more subtle than that. What they noticed was that the model seemed to learn to allocate more processing time to certain problems, almost like it was taking a step back to kind of reevaluate its initial approach. And there's even an instance in the paper where the model, in its own coded language, essentially flagged what could be interpreted as an aha moment.
Wow, that is incredibly intriguing. I mean, does that suggest a level of metacognition, like the ability to think about its own thinking,
Yeah.
which we haven't really seen before in AI? And this just emerged from its interaction with the reinforcement learning environment.
That's right. It wasn't explicitly programmed in. It's as if the model, through trial and error, kind of discovered
Mm.
that sometimes it needs to pause and rethink
Hmm.
and explore different avenues to arrive at the best solution.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's blowing my mind a little bit. But I'm also thinking, if DeepSeek R1 is built on this earlier model, does that mean that it inherited this ability to have aha moments?
That's a great question. And it's one that the research doesn't explicitly address. It's possible, but we need more research to really say definitively. Whether DeepSeek R1 exhibits the same behavior.
So even with all this advanced technology and research, there's still so much we don't know about how AI actually thinks. But let's move on to another key aspect of DeepSeek R1. Its accessibility. The research mentions a process called distillation, which honestly sounds like something you do in a chemistry lab. What exactly is AI distillation and why is it important?
So AI distillation is basically a technique for transferring the knowledge of a large, complex AI model like DeepSeek R1 to smaller, more manageable models. Think of it like taking the essence of a master chef's skills and distilling it into a set of recipes that a home cook can follow.
Okay, so they're basically taking the brain power of DeepSeek R1 and sharing it with smaller AI models, giving them a boost in reasoning capabilities.
Exactly. And this is really important because not everyone has access to the computational resources that are required to run a massive AI model like DeepSeek R1. So distillation makes this powerful AI technology much more accessible to researchers, developers, and even hobbyists who might be working with more limited hardware.
Yeah, that opens up so many possibilities, doesn't it? You imagine smaller AI models being able to perform these complex reasoning tasks, thanks to the knowledge distilled from DeepSeek R1. But this raises a question for me. If distillation is so effective, why even bother with reinforcement learning in the first place? Especially for these smaller models. Why not just distill the knowledge from a larger model and call it a day?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The research actually highlights a surprising finding. Directly applying reinforcement learning to smaller models turned out to be less efficient than distillation.
So it's like trying to teach a small dog to pull a heavy sled. Like it's just not built for that kind of task, no matter how much training you do.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. Smaller models might simply lack the capacity to effectively learn through the really computationally intensive process of reinforcement learning. So distillation, on the other hand, seems to be a much more efficient way to transfer the already acquired knowledge. From a larger model,
So it's like a shortcut to AI reasoning for those smaller models. But does that mean reinforcement learning is becoming obsolete?
not at all. Larger scale reinforcement learning is still absolutely crucial for pushing the boundaries of AI. It's how we develop those groundbreaking models like DeepSeek R1 in the first place. It's just that for smaller models, distillation offers a more practical and effective path to that enhanced reasoning.
I see. So it's like this fascinating dynamic between these two approaches. But, we've been praising DeepSeek R1 quite a bit here. It's important to remember that even in cutting-edge AI research, not everything goes as planned. Were there any approaches that DeepSeek AI tried that just didn't work out?
Oh, absolutely. And the paper is actually refreshingly transparent about their unsuccessful attempts. And sharing these failures is so valuable for the research community. It really fosters a culture of open learning and helps everyone avoid repeating those same mistakes.
Yeah, I agree. So what didn't work? What were some of the dead ends that they encountered?
So one approach they tried was the process reward model, or PRM. And the idea was to basically reward the model for following the right reasoning steps, step by step. But it proved really tricky to implement for more general reasoning tasks, which are often much more complex and less structured than, say, playing a game of chess.
Oh, so it's like trying to write a detailed instruction manual for solving a creative problem. It's just too fluid and unpredictable to break down into a neat set of steps.
Exactly. The other approach they explored was Monte Carlo tree search, or MCTS, which is a technique that's been proven successful in game-playing AIs, but it really struggled with the vastness of language generation.
Oh, I see. So it's like trying to explore every possible path in a maze that's constantly expanding and changing. You get lost pretty quickly.
A great analogy. So while both PRM and MCTS have shown a lot of promise in other areas, they weren't quite the right fit for the challenges of general AI reasoning that DeepSeek R1 was designed to tackle.
Right. And it's a good reminder that even the brightest minds in AI research hit roadblocks sometimes. But learning from those setbacks is what drives progress,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. Now, even with all its impressive capabilities and groundbreaking advancements, it's important to acknowledge that DeepSeek R1 isn't perfect. Every AI model has its limitations, and understanding those limitations is really crucial for responsible development and deployment.
Right. So let's get real. What are the current shortcomings of DeepSeek R1? What are the areas where it still needs work?
Well, firstly, while it excels in reasoning, its overall general capability needs a bit more development. Areas like function calling, multi-turn conversations, and complex role-playing still require some improvement. You can kind of think of it as a brilliant student who's aced their math exams, but still needs to work on their social skills.
So it can solve complex equations, but might struggle to hold a nuanced conversation at a dinner party.
Exactly. Another limitation is language mixing. While it's been optimized for English and Chinese, it can run into some issues with other languages. Imagine trying to have a conversation with someone who keeps switching between, say, French and German. It can get confusing pretty quickly.
Right, a truly versatile AI needs to be fluent in multiple languages. And it seems like DeepSeek R1 is still working on expanding its repertoire. What else?
Well, it can also be a bit sensitive to the way questions are phrased, meaning its performance can vary depending on the prompt.
Oh, so it's kind of a picky eater. Only enjoys its food prepared in a very specific way.
That's a great analogy. And finally, it requires more development to reach its full potential in software engineering tasks. But the good news is that DeepSeek AI is aware of all these limitations, and they're actively working to address them.
That's reassuring to hear. It sounds like DeepSeek R1 is a work in progress, but a highly promising one. And it's clear that this model is pushing the boundaries of AI reasoning. But what are the broader implications of this technology? Where does it fit into the bigger picture of AI development?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one that we'll definitely be delving into further in part 2 of this deep dive. We'll explore the implications of open sourcing such a powerful model, the ethical considerations of advanced AI reasoning, and what it all means for the future of humanity's relationship with intelligent machines. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of DeepSeek R1. We've explored its impressive reasoning capabilities, how it was developed, and even those mind-boggling aha moments. Now, I'm really curious to explore the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think it's time to shift our focus from the technical details to the broader implications of this technology.
Right, it's easy to get caught up in the how. Like, how does it work? How is it trained? What can it do? But what's even more important is the so what? What does it all mean for us?
Exactly. We need to consider the potential impact of AI reasoning on society, the economy, even our understanding of intelligence itself.
Okay, so let's start with the potential benefits. How could this kind of advanced AI reasoning be used to make the world a better place?
Well, the possibilities are pretty vast. Imagine AI assisting scientists in discovering new cures for diseases, or helping engineers design more efficient and sustainable energy systems, or even aiding policymakers in making data-driven decisions that benefit society.
So it's not just about solving these abstract problems, it's about applying that reasoning power to real-world challenges.
Exactly. And let's not forget the potential impact on our everyday lives. AI-powered personal assistants that can truly understand our needs and provide personalized support. Educational tools that can adapt to individual learning styles, even creative applications in art, music, and storytelling.
Yeah, it sounds like we're talking about a future where AI is seamlessly integrated into every aspect of our lives. But I have to ask, with all this talk about AI reasoning and problem solving, isn't there a risk of job displacement? What happens to the human workforce when AI can do so much?
It's a very valid concern, and one that we need to address proactively. It's crucial to remember that AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or ill. The key is to focus on developing AI that augments human capabilities, not replaces them.
So it's not about AI versus humans. It's about finding ways for AI and humans to work together.
Exactly. We need to think about how we can leverage AI's strengths, its speed, its accuracy, its ability to process vast amounts of data, to enhance human creativity, problem solving, and decision making.
It sounds like a partnership where each side brings its unique strengths to the table. But I'm also thinking about the decision to open source DeepSeek R1. That seems like a pretty bold move considering the potential power of this technology. Why would they do that?
Well, open sourcing is a really powerful way to foster collaboration and innovation. By making the model freely available, DeepSeek AI is essentially inviting the global research community to contribute to its development, explore its potential, and build upon its foundation.
So it's not just about DeepSeek AI controlling this technology. It's about democratizing access to it, letting others build upon it, improve it, and find new applications for it.
Exactly. It's a philosophy that really embraces transparency and collaboration. And it has the potential to accelerate progress in the field of AI reasoning in ways we haven't seen before.
That's an exciting prospect. But I'm also wondering, if anyone can access and use DeepSeek R1, how do we ensure that it's used responsibly? It seems like there's a lot of potential for misuse.
That's a crucial point, and one that the AI research community is taking very seriously. Open sourcing doesn't mean a free-for-all with no safeguards. It's about fostering a culture of responsibility, where researchers and developers are mindful of the potential consequences of their work and committed to using AI for good.
So it's about building ethical considerations into the very fabric of AI development. It's not just about what AI can do, but what it should do.
Exactly. And that's where open dialogue and collaboration become even more important. We need to have open conversations about the ethical implications of AI to establish guidelines and ensure that AI development aligns with human values and goals.
It sounds like we're entering uncharted territory here.
Yeah.
This isn't just about building cool new technology. It's about shaping the future of our relationship with intelligent machines.
Absolutely. And the choices we make today will have profound consequences for generations to come. It's a responsibility we all share. And it starts with understanding the technology, engaging in these meaningful conversations, and advocating for responsible AI development.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits of DeepSeek R1, the importance of collaboration, the need for these ethical considerations, and the potential impact on the workforce. But I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, distillation. You explained how it works, but I'm curious about its implications. What are the long-term consequences of being able to transfer knowledge from these larger to smaller AI models?
It's a fascinating question. The ability to distill knowledge could lead to a more diverse AI ecosystem with a wider range of models that are tailored to specific tasks and applications. Imagine smaller, more efficient AI models running on everyday devices from smartphones to household appliances, all powered by the knowledge that's been distilled from these massive supercomputer-trained models.
It sounds like AI could become even more pervasive,
Yeah.
even more integrated into our lives than it already is.
Yes, and it raises some really interesting questions about accessibility and control. Who will have access to this distilled knowledge? How will it be distributed? And who will ultimately control the flow of information in an AI-powered world?
Those are some weighty questions.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know the answers.
Yeah.
But it's clear that we're at a pivotal point in the evolution of AI. The technology is advancing at an incredible pace, and it's up to us to navigate these uncharted waters thoughtfully and responsibly.
Absolutely. And I think the first step is to stay informed, to engage in these open and honest conversations about the implications of this technology, and to advocate for the responsible development and deployment of AI.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about, but I'm sensing there's even more to explore. What other fascinating aspects of DeepSeek R1 haven't we covered yet?
You're right, there is one more intriguing aspect we haven't touched on yet, a question that delves into the very nature of intelligence itself. Are you ready to dive deeper?
Of course, that's what we're here for. Let's explore those deeper philosophical questions and see what other insights DeepSeek R1 can offer. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details of DeepSeek R1 to the wider implications of AI reasoning and how it might impact society. But now I'm ready to tackle those deeper, more philosophical questions you hinted at.
Excellent. You know, it's easy to get caught up in the practical applications of AI, but I think it's equally important to consider those fundamental questions. You know, the ones that it raises about the nature of intelligence itself.
Right, we keep talking about AI reasoning, but is it actually thinking the way humans do? Or is it just a really sophisticated simulation of thought? Like, what's the distinction?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that's had philosophers and scientists debating for decades. And it's only gotten more complex with the rise of AI. Some argue that true intelligence needs consciousness, self-awareness, and the ability to, experience emotions. While others think that intelligence is simply the ability to process information and solve problems effectively, regardless of whether it involves subjective experiences or not.
So is DeepSeek R1 feeling a sense of accomplishment when it nails a difficult problem? Is it getting frustrated when it hits a bug in its code? We don't really have a way of knowing, do we?
Not yet, at least. We can observe its behavior, analyze its outputs, we can even speculate about its internal processes, but we don't have access to its subjective experiences, if they even exist.
It's almost like we're back in the days of behaviorism in psychology, where the focus was purely on observable behavior, with no real way to look into the black box of the mind.
That's a great analogy, and I think it highlights the challenges of studying intelligence, really, whether it's artificial or biological. We're always refining our understanding of what intelligence actually is, how it emerges, what are its defining characteristics.
And DeepSeek R1, with its impressive reasoning abilities and those intriguing aha moments, is really forcing us to re-examine those assumptions about intelligence. It's blurring the lines between what we thought was uniquely human and what machines are capable of.
It really is. And this blurring of the lines raises some profound questions about the future of our relationship with AI. If machines can reason, learn, and problem solve, at a level comparable to humans, what does that mean for our sense of identity, our purpose, our plus in the world even.
Yeah, those are big questions, and I don't think there are any easy answers. But it's definitely a conversation we need to be having. We need to explore these philosophical and ethical dimensions of AI, alongside its technical advancements.
Right. We need to approach AI development with a sense of wonder for sure, but also with a healthy dose of caution. It's a powerful tool that has the potential to reshape our world in some really profound ways, both for better and for worse.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into DeepSeek R1, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is this. AI isn't some distant, futuristic concept. It's here, it's evolving rapidly, and it's already having a big impact on our lives. So it's up to us to engage with this technology thoughtfully, to understand its potential, but also its limitations, and to shape its development in a way that benefits all of humanity.
That's a powerful message. It's not about fearing AI or trying to halt its progress. It's about embracing its potential, while also being mindful of the risks and working to make sure AI is used ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. The future of AI isn't predetermined. It's a future that we are actively shaping. With every decision we make, every conversation we have, and every action we take.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of DeepSeek R1. It's been an eye-opening exploration of not just a groundbreaking AI model, but the wider questions it poses about intelligence, ethics, and the future of humanity.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, I really encourage you to continue exploring, stay curious, and engage in this ongoing conversation about AI's role in our world.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the fascinating world of knowledge and discovery. But until then, keep those minds engaged and stay curious.